Who are the biggest sleepers in fantasy football this year? So, a lot of you guys out there still have your fantasy drafts coming up. I know me personally, I still have 3 to do before the start of the NFL season. So, because of that, I thought I would give you guys my favorite sleepers in fantasy football, aka people that are going much later than I think they should. Now, for this video, I am going to be going by the ADP rankings of sleeper fantasy. Ironic because, I'm talking about sleepers.
Shut up, bitch!
But that is the numbers that I get from this list. I'm going to be talking about their correlation to their position and what their average draft position is overall. Now, before I get into my list, if you guys want to see more fantasy content on the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and push that notification bell if you don't want to miss any future videos. Getting into my list, I want to make 2 things clear. I am operating on a PPR scoring format, and you can apply this ranking to a redraft or a dynasty league. I'm mostly considering redraft leagues for this one, but if you want to apply this to dynasty as well, it's totally fine if you're doing like the first year of your dynasty draft this year. But I'm going to give you guys at least 3 players at each position for 2023. Let's go ahead and start with the quarterbacks. My favorite steal for the quarterbacks is going to be Justin Fields. Justin Fields' ADP is 45th overall. He's listed at QB number 7. And this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think Justin Fields has as high of a ceiling as any quarterback in fantasy football. First of all, he ran for over 1,000 rushing yards last year, literally running back numbers. And to reward him for such a good performance, the Bears got him a right tackle, 10th overall, who many people consider to be the best pass blocking right tackle in the NFL, and a legitimate superstar wide receiver 1, something that he did not have last year with the Chicago Bears, making his passing average at best. But I think with improved weapons, with another leap in year 3, I think he's going to be a much better passer, and we all know what Justin Fields can do on the ground. So he could be legitimately a fantasy superstar. He's going at quarterback number 7. I would consider scooping him up above his ADP. Another guy I really like for their ADP is Deshaun Watson, going at QB9, and his ADP is 82. There's a little bit of a drop-off there with the quarterbacks. And, ignoring the off-the-field stuff, Deshaun Watson, the last time he played football, was a really, really good quarterback. He's a good athlete. He's not as good as Justin Fields, but he's a good athlete. He, was obviously a very, very good thrower of the football in Houston. And quarterback 9, his ceiling could be a lot higher than the 9th best quarterback per fantasy in the entire NFL. I would consider scooping him up if you guys are looking for a quarterback to lead your team. And then my last sleeper for quarterbacks is going to be Anthony Richardson. I know I like this guy a little too much. I know you guys all shit on me for liking Anthony Richardson, but his running ability is going to be elite out of the gate. I promise you. And just based off of that, his ceiling is very, very high as a quarterback. Now, is this guy going to complete, 60% of his passes? Probably not. Is his interceptions going to be a little bit high? Probably. But for a guy who's going 107th overall and is going as the 16th best quarterback, he might have the best rushing upside of damn near anybody in the league. If you guys remember, the player that he's profiled to the most from a physical standpoint is Cam Newton. Cam Newton ran for 14 rushing touchdowns in his rookie season. I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is going to rush for 14 rushing touchdowns, but he is going to have a lot on the ground. I do think he's going to get a lot of goal line work, and he's just going to truck dudes over. So Anthony Richardson, consider him, before pick 107. Moving on to the running backs, and a guy that I really like and I'm really high on in several of my fantasy leagues is Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is currently going 34th overall, and he's going as the 16th drafted running back, especially in PPR format leagues. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a monster. He was a monster last season at Alabama. Ben Johnson, who I really, really love as the Lions offensive coordinator, is going to scheme up a lot of very creative things for Jahmyr Gibbs to do. He's getting snaps in the backfield. He's going to get snaps at slot receiver, according to what I've been seeing in training camp. He's going to catch a lot of passes. I think he's going to score a lot of touchdowns, and he's going to rip off some big plays. Goal line work, obviously, is probably going to go to David Montgomery for this season, but I love Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think he's going to be a big impact, especially in PPR leagues. Another running back I really like that's going lower than I would think is DeAndre Swift. He's currently going as the 60th overall player and the 24th drafted running back. For me personally, I am pro DeAndre Swift in Philadelphia. I know some people have their reservations. I get it, but the talent is there. You pair that with an elite offensive line. I think what is a good offensive coach in Nick Sirianni. They have other things. Defenses have other things to worry about other than DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to be involved in the passing game. The Eagles are going to score a lot of touchdowns, so that gives him more opportunities. I like DeAndre Swift more than I think a running back 24. I might take him earlier in the drafts than this is. Now for a player that I think is no joke, the greatest steal in all of fantasy this season, Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert is going at the 97 draft spot on average and is the 35th running back off the board. First of all, let's just do the math here for a second. There's 32 running backs in the NFL that are starters. He is a starting running back, and he's going at pick 35. Now, Dynasty, this might change a little bit because I think Roschon Johnson could take over in a couple of seasons. But for Khalil Herbert in this season, to be the number one running back in Chicago, a historically run-heavy team, he was one of the most efficient runners last year. He already is breaking off big plays in the preseason. Better offensive line. Khalil Herbert going as running back 35 to me is downright disrespectful. I am just going to smash Khalil Herbert in fantasy, chill. And I think that is a great bargain get down the board. I'm definitely going to be taking Khalil Herbert in many of my leagues. Moving on to the receivers, this is a guy that I love, and I really don't understand why he isn't getting more hype. He's really gotten better every single season. That's going to be Brandon Aiyuk, coming in at the 65th overall pick and wide receiver 28. I love Brandon Aiyuk. I think he's legitimately could be an all-pro receiver this year. I understand the 49ers have question marks at quarterbacks, and I think that's what pushed him down the draft board a little bit. But realistically, he's got such good separation skills. He's got really, really good hands. He runs great routes. He's going to get open. He's going to catch passes from really whoever's playing quarterback there. And I think that the trend of Brandon Aiyuk going up and Deebo Samuel going down is a real thing. I like Brandon Aiyuk to have over 1,000 yards this year. I think his over-under receiving yards is like 800, smashing that. Brandon Aiyuk is going to be really, really good. Take him before pick 65, I promise you. Next, another receiver I love in that kind of same range is George Pickens. George Pickens is coming in as the 81st overall pick, wide receiver 30 overall. I think that George Pickens is due for a really, really good year. He quietly had over 800 yards last year, and I think there's no secret that he's probably going to be the number one wide receiver in Pittsburgh. I understand his separation, he doesn't separate very well, but he is just such a monster. He just makes such good catches. He showed a little yak ability so far in this preseason. I like George Pickens a lot, especially in a dynasty league because he's young. And if him and Kenny Pickett can have that great connection, the Pickett to Pickens connection, try saying that 5 times fast, that'll greatly benefit him. I like George Pickens. I'm going to take him in my fantasy leagues. And then lastly, you guys know I had to throw a Seahawk in there, okay? Scream at me in the comments. I don't care. Jackson Smith-Njigba currently going 83rd overall and as the wide receiver 39 for a guy who is, I think, without a doubt, the best rookie receiver in this year's class. Wide receiver 39 is kind of disrespectful. People have question marks about Geno Smith, and it's in a loaded wide receiver room. I get it. But I think Jackson Smith-Njigba has such an elite ability to get open, and he's got such great hands that he is going to put up good numbers as a rookie. He really is. And obviously, if it's a dynasty league, I would say pick him higher because, he's going to be young. But even in a redraft league, I think that he's good for probably 750, 800 yards this year. Probably going to score 4 or 5 touchdowns. That is a solid guy to have either as a high bench player or like a borderline flex guy. I would take him above wide receiver 39, and you'll be happy, I promise. Now, ending off with the tight ends, this is a guy that has been overhyped every single year, but this year I think he's getting a little underhyped. Kyle Pitts. Now, hear me out on Kyle Pitts for a second, okay? Highly drafted player, one of the highest drafted tight ends of all time. Had a low-key good rookie year. Bad quarterback situation in Atlanta. Bad passing situation. They're going to run the football, okay? He's going 68th overall. 68th, and he's going as the 5th tight end. Kyle Pitts has the highest upside of any tight end in the NFL. Yes, that includes Travis Kelce. Yes, that includes Mark Andrews. Yes, that includes TJ Hockenson. He's the most talented tight end in the NFL, period, right? If they can get him the ball, specifically if they can get him the ball more in the red zone, Kyle Pitts is going to be a steal at pick 68 or a little bit earlier, right? I would go ahead and pick Kyle Pitts, and I would hope that Arthur Smith finally knows how to use him. My next tight end, I have 2 rookies. I'm gonna put them together. Dalton Kincaid is going as tight end number 12, 117th overall for his draft position, and Luke Musgrave is going at tight end 24, 205th overall. Both of these guys, it kind of makes sense why they're sliding, but I want to explain why I like them so much. They're rookies, right? And in the case of Luke Musgrave, question mark at quarterback. I almost actually prefer that they have a question mark at quarterback because inexperienced quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks favor their security blankets. They like their checkdowns. They like their tight ends. They're not always as ballsy to just chuck it down the field with guys going. So Luke Musgrave has looked great in camp. I loved him at Oregon State. Dalton Kincaid, I thought was the best tight end in this year's draft class. He's going to a Bills offense with a superstar quarterback and really only one other passing target in Stephon Diggs. I think Dalton Kincaid could score some touchdowns this year. I understand rookie tight end, probably not going to be amazing, but I think he's going to be better than the 117th overall player in the draft. Dalton Kincaid and Luke Musgrave, I would go ahead and grab in your fantasy leagues. So that's my video on the biggest sleepers in fantasy football. Let me know what you guys thought of it down below, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace out.